Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Gamestradamus, and welcome to my review of Supreme Commander 2. Yes, Gas Powered Games' flagship RTS is back, and this time around there has been some significant changes made to the gameplay to make it more fast-paced and accessible to those that found the first Supreme Commander to have too steep of a learning curve. Now, I think that the changes that they made to this game really help it out and really encourage players to check out the multiplayer section of the game, which is really what gives any RTS its longevity. The single player campaign has you following 3 different commanders, one for the UEF, one for the Illuminant, and one for the Cybran. Now, just because Gas Powered Games has teamed up with Square Enix does not mean that Square Enix has helped them in any way with the cutscenes or the storyline. In fact, they are both pretty throwaway, so you will not get any of your bang for your buck there. But one can keep their fingers crossed for their future titles. As far as the gameplay goes, well, it's the same good old Supreme Commander. Huge maps, giant armies, and a whole lot of mayhem. Now, if you played the first one, you will notice right away that the user interface is really fleshed out and scaled down. This is to increase their consumer base and make the game more accessible for people all around. I, for one, really like the simplified user interface, as well as the other changes that they have made to this game. Also, the game has been made a lot more stable, so the system requirements are not as steep as its predecessor. So no need for a $5,000 computer to even check this game out. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the Supreme Commander series, there are 2 systems that Gas Powered Games implemented that will forever change how RTS games are looked at. One of them is the strategic zoom ability, which allows you with the mouse wheel to quickly zoom in and out of locations around the map. This really helps you manage battles on multiple fronts. And it just looks freaking awesome and is way too much fun to play with. I'm not going to lie, when you get your hands on this for the first time, you'll probably feel like a little kid in a candy store and just zoom in and out like, wee, yeah, awesome. And it really just does not get old even after multiple hours of playing. The other system they created, which is probably more important than the strategic zoom ability, is the command queue ability. This allows you to queue up either multiple building commands, movement commands, or attack commands, or a combination of any of them for any number of units you want. This really helps you manage your armies in an RTS game, as it allows you to plan ahead and let your units manage themselves. Now, the single player campaign in this game still has you focused a lot around your Supreme Commander, which is your main unit for your army and can be used as not only a building unit, but also as one of your main offensive weapons if you research and upgrade him correctly. The campaign itself consists of 18 levels, which is split into 3 groups of 6 to cover the 3 different races in the game. Now, the objectives for these levels are nothing too unique. It's usually capture this point, defend this base, destroy this commander, and so forth. So they're more of a training ground to kind of get your feet wet for all the different races so that you can transfer into the skirmish and multiplayer sections of this game more easily. Now, besides simplifying down the user interface, Gas Powered Games has also reworked their economic system and added a research tree. Now, as you can see here, I am putting these mass extractors onto these mass extraction points. These points are located randomly around the map and try to encourage people to expand. Besides mass, you also generate electricity through generators and can build research stations which generate research points. Now, the mass extraction points are put into place to encourage people to expand and not turtle as much. But unfortunately, there are skills in the research tree which allow you to turn electricity into mass, which kind of negates that point entirely. But it's still a more simplified and streamlined economy, which is nice. The new research tree really adds a lot of replayability to this game and really is where the new Supreme Commander shines, I feel like. This tree allows you to go down multiple different paths and kind of customize to your playstyle, which adds a lot of replayability in the multiplayer sections as you will be battling over what research to get. This leads to some interesting little battles between people as one player can be focusing on his smaller units, as another player is trying to upgrade to get experimental units, then another player is sticking with his ACU and maxing that out. And when you see all these different systems collide, it can lead to some very exciting and interesting battles. Another thing the research tree adds is the ability to upgrade the Tier 1 and Tier 2 units to make them more usable late game, as in the first game, Tier 1 and Tier units became obsolete later on. Experimental units are back this time around and more badass than ever, and luckily in Supreme Commander 2 you get access to them a lot earlier than you would in Supreme Commander 1, so they play a more pivotal role as part of your army or base defense. And yes, that is some sort of hulking Dinobot there, some fire-breathing, tank-like armored dinosaur. Why he's in the game, I have no idea, but he is quite a lot of fun to use and watch pummel enemy bases. One thing Supreme Commander 2 does well is its unit design. The units in this game are pretty cool looking, especially the experimental units and the bigger units in the game, like these Navy ships, for example, that can sprout legs and walk on land. That's just a pretty cool unit design idea, and when you see a lot of these units battling each other out on these epic battlefields, it leads to some pretty cool battles if you are an RTS fan. Although Supreme Commander 2 is a nice step up from the first one, it does still have its fair share of issues. Namely, the pathfinding can sometimes be a little glitchy, the computer AI is pretty straightforward and predictable, and aesthetically speaking, I wish the game was a little sharper graphically. But for the most part, it is a very solid all-around RTS game, and the first time you drop a nuke on someone's base to destroy the entire thing at once, I can guarantee you that you will giggle like a little girl. All in all, Supreme Commander 2 is a solid all-around game, and if you are an RTS fan, I suggest you go and check out this game, even if it's merely to hold you over till StarCraft 2 comes out. Anyway, if you enjoyed this review, please come and check out my channel, subscribe, and leave a comment. And for all your future gaming news and reviews, please check out my sponsors at elder-geek.com. Have a good one, everybody. It's just one click.